welcome back to my YouTube channel. Again, this is Mom Earl, and for today's lesson, we're going to discuss about language change and its style. And here are the learning objectives. First, students will examine evidence of language change by comparing examples of languages at different stages in their histories, such as text in Latin compared to Spanish or Old English, Middle English, and Modern English. Next, they will learn that the reason languages diverge from a common ancestor is the constantly ongoing process of linguistic change. Next, they will be able to list some of the reasons for language change. And also, they will learn that linguists can reconstruct the ancestors of related attested languages, even though no records of the ancestral language may survive. And well, language, as we all know, is constant. It is always changing, evolving, and adapting to the needs of its users. And with that, this isn't a bad thing. Perhaps if English hadn't changed, let's say since the year 1950, we wouldn't have words to refer to modems, fax machines, or cable TV. As long as the needs of language users confine to change, so will the language. The change is so slow that from year to year we hardly notice it, except to grumble every so often about the poor English being used by the younger generation. There are many reasons for language change or why language change, like social status and language change. Another is gender and language variation. And of course, interaction and language variation. For language change, it's being studied by both historical linguists and social linguists. We have diachronic change or the historical linguist, the change of languages over time. For example, Old English or from Old English going to the Middle English up to the Modern English that we are currently using, okay, in our present era. Next is synchronic change or the social linguists. The origins or the causes of language changes, how language changes with society or in particular period like Punjabi in Pakistan and Punjabi in India. And also, as studied, of course, and even from the readings, okay, or from the news that we are hearing, there are really great changes. Okay, if we are going to compare the present language that we are using nowadays from the past, okay, from that of the Old English. Now, let's talk about the variation and change. Actually, language varies in three ways. So what are these three ways? We have in physical space, which is also called as the regional variation. The second one is socially, which means in the social variation. And of course, over time, meaning to say language change. Now, let's see the differences, okay, about the variation and change of language. So, on the left column, we have the language variation, while on the right column, we have the language change. So, here we have the stable variation. And in language change in progress. In language variation, we have bell-shaped pattern. And in language change, we have steady increased or steady declined. And how do we study language change? We have here parent time studies and the real time studies. The linguist compares the speech of people from different age group. So that is for a parent time. How about in real-time studies? The linguist follows the same group of people and documents their change over an extensive period, for example, from 20 to 20 years. All right? And then we also have the apparent time studies of language change, comparing the speech of people from different age groups, also differences between the speech of older people and younger people are interpreted as indications of changes in progress, such as an increase in the use of prestigious forms indicate language change. We also have in apparent time studies of language change the problem. Okay, the problem is with the vernacular forms. So what is this? Meaning to say, as young people use more vernacular forms anyway, therefore the use of that vernacular forms by young people might be simply a stable variation. And according to researchers, is needing to ensure that teenagers will continue to use the vernacular form even when they reach adulthood. While in real-time studies of language change, as according to the researchers, it looked at language changes in same place over a long period of time. Okay, so let's say 20 to 30 years. And then also according to Tragel's Norwich study, he compared the data in 1968 and 1983 and found that the vowels of beer and beer had completely merged. Now, still, let's have the reasons for language change. Okay, why do you think so? That language change? Well, talking with the social status and language change, we have the members of the group with most social status tend to introduce changes into a speech community from neighboring communities which have greater status and prestige. Lower class speakers are more influential in spreading less conscious linguistic changes. And about the gender and language change, when women lead changes towards both prestige and vernacular forms. Example, women in Ushada, Spain led changes towards the standard form to show their social aspirations. And another example, women in Clonard, Belfast introduced vernacular forms from Ballymacarrat, all right? Because both Clonard and Ballymacarrat are working class communities. And wherein Ballymacarrat is more prestigious. Also, women in Clonard have a close-knit, multiplexed network. They are employed in poor city stores and shopping areas. They developed work and leisure patterns that resemble those of male groups. Talking with the interaction and language change. Well, actually, linguistic changes progress most slowly in tightly knit communities which have little contact with the outside world. Example, we have the Gaelic in Scotland, Maori in the far north of New Zealand, Iceland. And through the media expose, okay, when media expose people to new form in speech, but face-to-face interaction is crucial for linguistic change. All right. Based also in our own experiences, when we are talking with someone else, for example, in my case, I am an Ilocana and you are Malbanin, for example, or others are speaking foreign languages or know some other languages. Okay, and upon observing or hearing those, we of course adopt, okay, the language, okay, its forms, its use, so that the language used for that specific context or situation or scenario could be also changing. Well, another in gender and language change, for example, men lead changes towards vernacular forms only. For example, men in Martha's Vineyard led a change to a more vernacular form to show their loyalty to an older set of values. Another example is upper working class men in Norwich are leading a sound change away from RP towards vernacular forms to show the solidarity of working men. Next, according to Jean Aitchison, language change occurs in three ways. So what are those? We have the progress, okay, continuously evolving, okay, decay. It could be and in that specific situation wherein the language is no longer being used, or neither, okay, neither of the two. Well, could be both conscious and unconscious, like loss of rhotic, okay, or chaotic, okay, the R, and then unconscious, that is unconscious. Then could be natural or social. In what way? For example, the B sound, okay, lost in tongue, okay, so that is natural. Because if we use, okay, or if we enter the word, of course, out of that letters, okay, creating a word, then it blended, okay, blended. So for example, the tongue, we can utter or read as tumpy, all right. Okay, automatically it disappears or it lost, okay. The sound of letter B, for example, is losing or being lost. Now let's have the types of changes. We have incremental, so it is used for inventions or items of knowledge, and it become standard. Example, the word selfie, okay, and then we use emoji for this, which is added in dictionaries. For native, we have lantern, okay, or lantern. Okay, so that is something that we are more familiar with. And then TV, mobile, picnic, park, and menu. While in decremental, the words not used anymore because of the less usage of the object. For example, words related to sword fighting are not used often as parry and feint. In native, we have Zarabakter, Manchik, Tatar, Pankti, Walitu. Alright. And in replacement, or replacement of words or structures coexists in language. Correct both ways, meaning to say, although there is a replacement happening in a certain word, still both are correct. All right. So let's take the example. The half, halves, and halves. Another is thievery to theft. Next is rise, rose, raised. Okay, as you see, we are pertaining, or this given example is pertaining to the tenses of verbs. Okay, so how it happens that even though we replace the word, it is still correct. Okay, so since if we are talking with the tenses of verb, all right, the time when it was taken or the action when it was done also changes, but it is on the same scenario. It just happens that because the tense of the verb changes from present, future, or past tense. Okay, so we can detect, okay, when that specific situation happened. Next is native. We have pistol or tamancha, school, madrasa, train, gari, guitar. We have the guitar or getaway. We also have the causes of change, is like the social status. Okay, people of higher status introduce changes. Okay, later considered prestigious. For example, native or on the native language, we have the burger, then bon kebab, fries or chips. Okay, so this is more familiar with us. And then pronunciation of career. Next is baba, and then we have the word papa or abu. Now, interaction or contact. We are having the borrowing. Isolation is slow process of change. Interaction, okay, increases influences on other languages. Okay, sometimes we do the varying in English word or in Latin word, for example, the items or words existing, okay, but doesn't have any particular word, okay, when it comes to our native language or in our mother tongue or in the language we are using. So that is borrowed. Okay, so example, okay, for example, is the word sushi. Okay, so that is from Japan only. And if we are using uh, that or telling that, like in our own country, still that is sushi. Okay, so that is borrowing. Now, native, we have the gilband or the Pharisee, which means necklace, bandar ka, Farsi, seaport, and Mayun, Hindi. Now, talking with the dialectal change, difference in vocabulary or pronunciation due to difference in dialects. Alright, for example, autumn, so that is fall, lift, elevator. The R sound at the end and schedule. Okay, so what does it mean here in dialectal is that, for example, we in the word elevator, we pronounce it as elevator. Other pronounce it as elevator or elevator. I mean elevate, elevator. Okay, sometimes the word R is missing. Okay, that is a very slang word. Native Shaljam or Tifar, Hazara, okay, Ganglu Lahore, Bahar, Bazant Lahore, Pio or the Lahore or Lala Hazara, where in gender, this is on the difference between speech of men and women. Right? Women introduce more standard forms like beautiful and sweet. Okay, when we describe women, for example, while in men introduce vernacular forms, so that is cool, wicked, and women categorized as married, teenager, Mrs. and Miss. Okay, well, talking to the gender class, actually, uh, there is very distinctable categorization because, for example, a lady when get married, so I mean she is no longer be called as Miss. Okay, she is literally called as Mrs. And of course, attached to his name, for example, you are going to call him so Miss or Miss, abbreviated MS, okay, or Mrs. Okay, because the married woman or the widowed woman can also still be called as Miss, okay, but if we are going to write this, so that is a different way or a variation, we can also use the abbreviated Miss, which is MS, okay. So meaning to say that woman is maybe widowed or married, okay? Or we are not sure if the woman is married or is still single, okay? But as you observe in the, for example, in pageant, all right? What is being used to call the Miss Universe is the word out Miss, MISS, meaning to say we are very sure that that woman is still single. Next, we have native just like the Ari, the Angler, Car, Tota, Mazda, Chief, and Chacha. Okay, so we have ankle. Now, in here, okay, women picking more accurate terms. Why? Because of course we are very familiar with this, or we are aware of this, that women are very taking longer time, for example, in buying or in decision making. Okay, just like for example, in buying a clone, for example, okay, there are lots of choices. Okay, while in men they are simplistic. Okay, so that is the word for them. Okay, to simply define them, meaning to say, because they are always most of men. I just don't know if until now this is still exercise or applicable. Okay, because usually men have not one word, but for example, a very idealistic word or something that they want to do. Okay, abruptly. Okay, for example, they are going to buy goods or items in groceries or at the market, so they are bringing listed items, or they are very sure of what are they going to buy too. Okay, unlike women that upon seeing different and great items, even though without on their list, okay, just like me, sometimes I'm doing this, I also buy. And then also the laziness. Now we have the imperfect learning. Children learn adult forms imperfectly, so majority usage, new standard. Okay. Now on the culture and tradition, new places, situations, objects does not matter where they go. Okay, so that is really true. Next, the levels of change. We have the changes that occur in the following levels: phonological or the sounds, syntactic or the structure of the sentence, semantic or the meaning of what we are talking or telling, okay, with someone else, lexical or the words we used, okay, and that varies on the context we are in, or in the context that we are using the language. While in phonological, we have the complex and it's sad that happens over time. Why? Examples: same vowel rule, a rule. Okay, we have the pen, pin in some English dialects, and that is not necessary. Okay, for the S sound at the end of Spanish words, como eta, so como estas, okay, como eta. And then the native examples of the words. Now, talking with the lexical change, change in the words and vocabulary used, addition of suffixes, prefixes to make new words, breakable, thinkable, touchable, and etc. Addition of s and es. We have drink, drinks, backs, backses. Okay, so in lexical, it does not changes the meaning also, but the plurality, okay, or the total number of items. For example, here we have the drink and drinks, backs and backses, okay, from singular to that of plural. And then the native examples. For syntactic change, we have changes in word order, double negation, no longer part of English, like the Old English, neox, not never. Okay, contracted negatives, Old English, knew not, didn't know. And comparatives. Okay, going back to the double negation test. If we are pertaining, for example, to something, for example, I don't love you no more. Okay, if we say that word, meaning to say you still love the person. Okay, but if you instead of saying that, to really justify that you don't love the person, so I don't love you, okay, or I don't love you anymore. But meaning to say you really don't love that person anymore. But if you say I don't love you no more, is in that context, okay, or usage of the language, okay, you have thrown, meaning to say you're still in love with that person. Alright, now talking with the comparatives, we have the Old English, most shamefulest, more happier. Alright, so in here, when we are comparing something, so we are using, for example, the root word. In the root word, we are just simply adding er, okay, the or affixes or suffixes, yeah. And then we don't have to use but, okay. For example, more happier. Okay, because more meaning to say you are a bit happier, and then you still use the word happier, then that is redundant. Okay, most shamefulest. Most is on its superlative extent, and shamefulest as well. Okay, and then we cannot we shouldn't we shouldn't use that word at the same time, okay, because they are pertaining the same meaning. Okay, so for example, you are just going to say choosing you is one of the most shamefulest thing I've done. Okay, so the use of most shamefulest words is being redundant. They have the same, okay? They have the same degree. So instead, choosing you is the shamefullest. Or by the way, or it could be choosing you is the most shameful. All right? No need to say it's shamefullest. More happier, more happy. Okay, so that is more accurate. And then there is also the native examples. Now, with the semantic change, changes related to, to meanings, and then broadening. For example, dog, specific breed for all dogs. Okay, so that is broadening, meaning to say you are having or creating wide, okay, or bigger concept regarding to something. And in narrowing, so for example, we are being specific or particular by giving example like deer. So that is any beast, or to be specific in what kind of animal we are pertaining to. Next is opposite. So we have sick and cute, okay? Beautiful, ugly, okay? Tall and short. Okay, so those are example of opposites. Now we have also the negative example. So take time to read it. Anyways, and with that class, all right, so talking to language, there are many things, okay, being accumulated, okay, regarding or talking to the changes of the language, why it is changes, what are the reasons behind, okay, why language changed. Okay, so we already discussed a while ago, okay, and I think you still have something, okay, that you know running in your heads regarding on the changes, okay, why there are changes in language. And well, language changes for several reasons. First, it changes because the needs of its speakers change also, and the new technologies, okay, with the use of new technologies, new products, and new experiences require new words to refer to them clearly and efficiently. Consider texting, for example. Originally, it was called text messaging, all right? And because it allowed one person to send another text rather than voice messages by phone. As that became more common, people began using the shorter form text to refer to both the message and the process. And another reason for change is that no two people have had exactly the same language experience. And that is very true. Okay, so for example, in my case, so I grew up in Isabela and I acquired Ilocano language. Okay, and since we moved here in Mauban, Quezon, okay, so I have to adopt Maubanin language or know at least the deep words, okay, in Maubanin terms. Okay, so actually until now, I am not that very particular on the Maubanin words, okay, that is being used here. But because of the through socialization, talking with others, with my colleagues, with my co-teachers, with my students, of course, and the other people that I am mingled with in this context or place I am living now, of course, I am getting the language or adopting the language. Okay, we all know as like a different set of words and constructions depending on our age, job, education level, region of the country, and so on. We picked up new words and phrases from all the different people we talked with. Okay, so that is what I am talking a while ago. And this combined to make something new and unlike any other person's, particularly way of speaking. Really? Okay, I think you can also relate this that you are also adopting the way, okay, the person is speaking or talking to. For example, you idolize a Korean actor or actress, okay, because you really wanted to learn their language to or to communicate with them, so you are trying, okay, to use their language and the way he or she pronounce or any one of your favorite actors or actress, okay, you can actually simulate. So actually there are great impersonators, right? Okay, so that is one of the, I think, one of the best example, okay, of having a language experience, okay, that you totally or someone, okay, who can impersonate one person, usually those who are popular persons, okay, so that is they can really, okay, adapt. And then at the same time, various groups in society use language as a way of marking their group identity. Okay, so we have these groups or organizations where they are being known, okay, having this or having using or have using this specific language. Okay, for example, if you are a fan of the vloggers, right? For example, Miss Filingera, okay? So he has, I mean, the word, the way she added words there, okay? So that is different from other vloggers too, okay? So that is when we hear that, even we are not looking at on her videos, so we can easily identify that, oh, this is Miss Filingera, okay? Or this is my friend, okay? Or this is someone else we know. And then, okay, so various groups in society use language as a way of marking their group identity. Now, showing who is and isn't a member of the group. Okay, so in language, just like biological evolution will continue to evolve to simply test and um, getting meaning across to another person more effectively as efficiency in communication grows. It will allow for more room in the brain to develop in different aspects of life, forcing humans to be able to achieve more. Okay, So to conclude it briefly, okay, so languages do change and it follows, okay, languages follow certain processes. All right. And let's end the discussion, and here are my references. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be just posting on our GCR the things that you are about to comply regarding this lesson. Thank you so much for watching.